compost pile, which in another video we will discuss how to start your compost pile, what you need, and the different percentages of greens and browns. But anyway, when we had started this, the pile was about this high. It's been, I don't know, maybe 3 months now, would you say, honey? 3 months, and it's gone down quite significantly. So it's time for us to flip this pile, and actually we should have flipped it a while ago, but we had spaghetti squash growing in there and we didn't want to kill it, and we reaped the benefits. We probably got about a dozen spaghetti squash. Anyway, it's overdue, so what we did was we created another compost bin back here, so that we could just flip this into it instead of having to drag all our compost out, flip it, and then put it back in again. So essentially what we're doing is creating a few different compost bins that will have different aged compost in it. This is obviously the oldest one, which will end up in this bin, and then we'll start a new one. So here we go, let's get started. Come join me.
Good job, honey.
Boy, that was a workout. So now the compost, most of it is thrown over there into the new bin. We left a little bit of the dirt, oops, from last time, and that's going to be a good base for the next pile that we start. So follow me and I'll show you how we're going to complete this process. See, gardening can be fun. So, here it is. We made this, we kind of just put these pallets in place temporarily to make a smaller area for this compost pile, because once we start, we figured like once we start another pile, we can then flip it into this section if we wanted to. Kind of just experimenting, seeing what works and what doesn't. But anyway, so honey, zoom in on this. So this is not quite our finished product, but it's going to sit throughout the fall and the winter, and by the time spring's here, it should be complete. It looks kind of sandy right now, and that's just because there was a lot of sand at the bottom of the other compost bin, and so that's just on the surface of this. But if you were to dig into this, it's really rich, dark, black soil. But there's something missing, and that is worms. Worms are our best friends. We raise them, and so here we have a bin of worms that we raised. We keep these guys in the basement. So this soil, this was peat moss when we first started, and we've got a whole bunch of worms in here. And we feed them once a week. Different.
But it looks like there's a dozen worms, but there's really thousands of
them. Oh, there's thousands of worms, unless if that little centipede has been eating them. But look, I mean, like, you know, like they really are everywhere. They just like to hide. Like, look at this pile right here. I mean, they really are everywhere. So anyway, so we are going to dump this whole entire thing into the compost pile. And so, as I was saying, like, this stuff right here is probably the best compost that you can get. The worms themselves, they will eat the food that we put in here. This guy looks a little sluggish. And whatever comes out their rear end is actually more nutritious than what goes in. So they decompose our garbage for us and convert it into highly nutritious compost. Okay, so now we put the worm compost, the worm castings and worms in our compost bin. And just to let these guys have a good start, we created a little indentation right here. And we're going to feed the worms. Give them all those nutrients. Oh, we'll save a little bit for later. Actually, I probably should have got a shovel, but just better do it like this. Anyway, so the worms are going to dig in there and have a feast. And hopefully they'll like their new home and start to dig deeper. By the way, in addition to all that spaghetti squash that naturally grew in our compost pile, as we were digging, we found some potatoes. You never know what you're going to dig up. In fact, we recently found an avocado tree, which we replanted. It's all about exploring everything, you know, life and nature, they always give you treats. Anyway, stay tuned to the next video, which will be about how to start your own compost pile. I look forward to seeing you then.